Hello everybody, welcome to this live webinar. I'd like to particularly say hello to Erica Farmer. She's a learning and development expert. Hello there, give us a wave.
Hi Dee, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be hearing more from you later on. So let's just talk to you about how this is going to go so that you know what to do. Well, I wanted to talk about increasing your confidence today so that you feel much happier on these kind of calls, because you're going to have to do them more often, I'm sure. We'll be able to answer some of your questions. Weird and wacky questions are welcome. And really, I want you to feel reassured that everyone's in the same boat. We're all going through this, so it's okay. Just to let you know, I'm recording this. So if you have your camera on at the moment, hello Mary, I can see you, then that means that during the recording, you'll be featured in the recording. So you may or may not want that to happen. So if you don't want that to happen, then you can turn your camera off. Hello Sandy, nice to see you too. So for those of you that don't want to be in the recording, that's fine. But if you want to just test playing out if your camera works, I can edit out a little bit, a little chunk. So let's just see. That's it. Great, Sarah. Turned it on. We could see you. Turn your camera on. We can see you and you'll see what it looks like. We can see everybody's faces. So if you're in a team meeting, it's much better to be able to see what people are doing. Brilliant. So why are we doing this? Well, we just want to do something to help. We're all in a weird situation and I felt a little bit helpless. Didn't really know how I can help people in this current environment. So I think Erica and I just really felt that if we can do anything to help, we'd like to do that. So that's why we're here. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk firstly about the foundations of webinars. So how do we even navigate around this screen that we've got in front of us? Then we're going to talk about the magic of interaction, and then hopefully if we've got time, they can ask weird and wacky questions and you'll show us how to do that. Some people are successfully on the call, which is wonderful, but maybe you could tell us for some people that didn't get on the call because they don't even necessarily feel confident doing that. Could you just give us a few tips about even getting on this kind of call?
Yeah, absolutely, Dee. So I think with anything new, it's around just testing and practicing and see what works and what happens when I click that button and, you know, what happens when I click that link. So Zoom, which is the software that we're using today, is particularly good because it doesn't start downloading lots of stuff when you click on a link, whereas some software does, and it will kind of catch you by surprise sometimes of, oh God, what's going to happen if I do that, especially if I'm on a company's laptop and there's firewalls and things like that. So that's the great thing about this software. It's web-based, so you click on the link and everybody who's got through today is fantastic. It's one of those things, if it doesn't work for whatever reason, just like laptops and other things, come out of it, come back in. You might find that something's triggered or something else has happened, or it's just been a glitch that's stopped you getting in first time round.
So turn it on and off again.
Pretty much.
Great, we love that. Good. Now, so tell us a little bit about what's on the screen. Someone's already done a little bit of chat for me, so they already know what they're doing or they're testing it out. So that's great. So tell us a little bit about these kind of things at the bottom of our screen. If we move our mouse, we can see some stuff at the bottom of the screen. So just covering the basics for us down there, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, absolutely, Dee. So again, as you said, if you hover your mouse or just move your mouse slightly, it brings up a toolbar at the bottom of the page where you'll see mute, stop video, invite, etc., etc. And this is your basic toolbar that you can use during participating or hosting webinars. I guess the most important one for this is we've already seen Sandy chat on the group chat. So if you haven't already, click on the little box that's got the speech bubble that has chat written underneath it, and you should have a white box that comes up called Zoom group chat. That's great because it allows you to engage as a group during the conversation. You might want to ask some questions in those boxes. As you and I are talking through, we might see a question that comes up there, Dee, that we want to stop and answer. And it just saves people kind of feeling that they have to speak up if they don't want to, or any kind of background noise or any disruption or anything like that. So that's fabulous because it kind of, you have the face-to-face and then you have the group chat function as well.
Yeah, and with so many people on a call, you can't possibly talk to them all. I mean, maybe in a smaller team meeting you can, but actually sometimes if you talk to everybody all of the time, you're not going to move through what you want to cover. So chat is a really quick way of getting interaction, but making sure it doesn't interrupt people. So can everyone just put something in the chat now? Just hello, whatever, just so we know that oh, wonderful, well done. Just so that we know what you're doing and you know how to use the chat. That's great, super.
We've got a quick question from Neil there. Are you using the free version, the pro version? Neil, we're using the free version at the moment. It allows you the same functionality, so you can invite lots of people with a link, you can set it up, etc. The only thing the free version does is it cuts you off at 40 minutes normally. It gives you 40 minutes free, and then if you want to do longer webinars, then you would sign up for the pro version of Zoom.
So if you see a little timer come up and say we're nearly at the end of our session, you'll know that we really are. We're going to do other videos about hosting. So I want to keep it really simple. This webinar is really for people who are new to using this kind of thing. So don't worry about hosting yet. That's like kind of advanced. That's going to be in future webinars. Could you just tell us then, we know what to do with these buttons at the bottom. Can you tell us a little bit more about how we can use our equipment, like the microphones or you know, headphones? You can see we've both got headphones in. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a great shout, Dee. So again, with technology, there's things that tend to work better than other things. So like you and I have got, I definitely would recommend a set of headphones or earbuds, something that's plugged into the laptop, because it's designed to capture what you're saying and filter out any background noise. And actually, if your bandwidth, if your Wi-Fi isn't that strong, it helps the other person hear what you're saying as well. So from an experience perspective, it's far better if you can hear me talking into a microphone as opposed to just speaking into the laptop's mic that will pick up kind of background noises and stuff like that as well.
Okay, great. I'm just going to unplug.
So I don't know if you can hear a difference in sound quality. Maybe can you just in the chat tell me if you notice a difference? I've unplugged. I know hopefully I'm going to be able to plug back in again. High risk.
Maybe. Did you notice that? Yes. You noticed that. Mary comes up on the screen here. Is that because she's chatting to us and her picture comes up then? Erica, why is that? You tell us.
Absolutely. So it's probably when Mary's microphone is picking up some background noise. So typically it would bring the person who is speaking or making noise to front of screen. So it might be a rustle of the microphone or something, Mary, but we can see you're on mute now. So so sometimes typically if you're all in a conversation, it will bring forward the person who's speaking at that point.
Right, that's a good reason to stay on mute and know what all the buttons do, I guess. And then if you want to talk to somebody, you can unmute as the host has got control. So don't think that your microphone isn't working. As the hosts, they have control over your microphone, so they might be able to turn you on and off. So you might be trying to talk and they've switched you off.
And again, it's, you know, learning by doing with this stuff as well. You know, you're not going to break it. It's just sometimes jumping on one of these and with the two of you just describe, you know, just uncovering what can be done, really.
Brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about, we've had sort of 10 minutes on the foundations. Let's talk a little bit about interaction and why interaction is really important. So for people on a webinar for the first time, the tendency might be just to sit back and not do any interaction. But perhaps you can just tell us why, you know, why is it so important to have that interaction?
And this is why we get into the differences, I suppose, of rather sitting in a room versus sitting online. It can be quite boring if you're listening to someone talk constantly. So this is, you know, something that can be done two-way or with a group of people. It's important that when you are attending a webinar, it's giving your full attention like you would do in a meeting. So not being on your phone, not being on your emails, etc., which is very tempting to do when you are sat in front of your laptop for sure. The other piece is there's more options for you to get involved in webinars. You will see with some webinars, there will be a toolbar at the top of the screen that drops down when you hover your mouse over it right at the top. And this gives you different options to engage with what's happening on the screen. So sometimes you can click on the annotate option there, which is the little pencil, and that actually allows you to collaborate with the people on the webinar, and you can make some notes, you can circle things, you You can type, say, on the text box and put some notes on. Perhaps there's a document being shared. You want to highlight a certain part of the document. So there's different functionality that allows you to interact with people in different ways. And again, it's one of those things that I'd really suggest people just hop on with a partner, with a friend, and just click around and have a look at stuff, because it's, there we go. We've got somebody who's on there already, which is great. So yeah, we've got a few people who found the annotate option. And
I love the stamp, look, stamp hearts, lovely.
If you click on the text, it gives you a box. You can type in that box, click off it. It keeps the wording there, for example. So you can see how you can work together and collaborate using these kind of functions on the webinar technology.
Brilliant. So if you can see the toolbar at the top there with all the different pictures on, feel free to have a scribble or a heart or a whatever. Let's see if we can all go to stamp. I'm going to just clear this so as I can clear all drawings, I think. There we go. So let's just go to stamp together. And for those of you that can, let's say that we love the idea of stamp. Let's use it like that and just sort of say, yeah, I really love that idea. Great, so you can see that. That's quite good, isn't it? So you could have some different options on the screen. You could do things like surveys, or say which one of these do you like best, that kind of interactivity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I can't find it.
The irony.
So, what you want to do is engage as a participant. You really want to, if the person is asking you for interaction, it's wonderful if you can interact so that they know you're listening, you're engaged, and you're part of the webinar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the chat, just tell us what did you like from seeing that bar. You've got select, text, draw, stamp, spotlight, eraser, etc. What do you think you might be able to use as a participant on there? Mary's saying on the iPhone there's limited functionality, no stamp options. So probably you had the draw option. Do you? So there's different options in the mobile version.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe people are experiencing that differently, whether you're on your PC or not. Tell us, what if we're using a different software?
Yeah, there's a few in the market, isn't there? And you'll hear people talk about Microsoft Teams. So if you're on Office 365, that comes as kind of the default virtual conferencing webinar software. Again, it does what it says on the tin. It's a team piece of software where you would have these kind of interactions, discussions, bringing teams together, mini conferences, one-to-ones. Not so interactive, I would say, in regards to the annotation and the tools and things that we've just looked at, just as a chat and etc. You've also got GoTo, so GoToWebinar, GoToMeetings. I've used that in a previous life. Again, very similar to the Zoom setup. And BT WebEx, people might have used in the past as well. Some of these you need to download the software for, as we talked about earlier, so they're not as user-friendly, which I think is why people are tending to use Zoom a lot now anyway, because the free functionality, the free account, you can just go in and sign up for it. You don't need to put your credit card details in or anything. And Microsoft Teams typically is organizational centric, so it's for people working in the same company. You can bring in externals, but they have to have a 365 account, etc. So again, it feels like Zoom's more user-friendly from that perspective.
Right, and we were talking about Zoom is just one link. So if people aren't very used to video conferencing, you just send the one link like you guys went on today, and anyone in any part of the organization, inside or out, well, depending on their firewalls, but should be able to access that. So often if you're talking to people outside or who are new, then it's good to use Zoom, isn't it? Maybe in the chat box, even if you don't have a question, just go in the chat box and say, I don't have a question. That way you're practicing using the chat box and interacting.
So I can see that Mary's found the function to put the hand up, which is kind of, Mary might be saying, I've got a question. Is that right, Mary? So is it possible to hear one another speak? Yes, so Dee's muted everybody at the moment because of the background noise, etc. So
shall I unmute Mary so she can say hello? Right.
I have a voice.
Lovely to hear you.
And to hear you too. And isn't it incredible? I'm learning
it's all of our senses that are important in connecting with people, not just those visual ones. So that's why I was really keen to hear you. And as you will hear from my accent, I bring a little bit of the United Nations to the table. At any rate, my question is, I'm holding my device, my phone,
Oh,
and
right,
it
that
kind of
looks good.
wobbles and squiggles. Is it better for the quality of the webinar and the participation and what you're trying to achieve out of it by doing it on desktops or laptops as you guys are, and having the camera at a certain distance? So for instance, I might have been holding this down here and I don't think that looks so good. I think it looks probably better. I don't know if there's some top tips doing that.
You look lovely from whatever angle, Mary.
Absolutely.
Great.
I think that's a great question, Mary, and it's one of those things that we might not even consider sometimes. And you know, it's about what's going on around here for yourself and everybody else, isn't it? So what am I wearing? What's behind me? What can people see? What people can't see? People walking behind me to and fro. So yeah, I mean, I would usually use my laptop just for all the reasons that you talked about earlier. There's a lot going on initially when you start doing this stuff. So if you can have something that just stays still and you can just focus on, I think that makes your life a wee bit easier. Plus the functionality on, what you can do on the laptop version is probably more than the iPhone version that we talked about earlier as well. I think Sandy's just asked that question. Is it better to use your desktop rather than the phone? If you're out and about and you need to hop on a Zoom call and you've got your phone or your iPad, then fantastic, absolutely. But my recommendation would be make your life easier and use your laptop or your PC.
Good
Great.
advice. Thank you.
Great. I've got one of these little gadgets here. I don't know if you've seen them, but these hold your mobile phone in place on your desk. So
Ooh,
I'm not
want
entirely
one.
sure what they're called, but you pop, if you are using your mobile phone, you can still put it in a holder. Of course, you could just lean it up against something, but I quite like this because you can kind of angle it and something. So there are different gadgets you can use.
Excellent. Thank you.
Brilliant. Other questions in the chat box? Oh, I know. We could talk about people walking past the screen because we just saw Mary. We just saw your son going by there, I'm sure.
You have to forgive him. He's working in the NHS trying to combat all this COVID.
Oh my goodness, we support him. Brilliant. Give him a big hug from us. So I think especially at the moment, anything goes, anything is okay. It's a good idea to put your participants or put yourself on mute if you think something's going to go by. But these are such strange times. You know, in normal world, we would say, oh, make sure nobody's behind you, make sure the dog doesn't bark. But it's just not going to be like that in these times. So I think everyone's a lot more forgiving about things like that than maybe they would have been a couple of weeks ago. What do you think, Erica?
Absolutely. I think you're spot on, Dee. I think we're all in this together, like you started off at the beginning of the webinar, and I think we're having a lot more empathy for each other and supporting each other a lot more as well. So yeah, it's all about the contact, maintaining that that's now we have to social distance, making sure that we're having that interaction in those relationships. So brilliant. I agree.
Good. Any more questions in the chat box while you've got us online? You think about some more questions and I'll just go through what I might recommend as your next steps, and maybe Erica, you can keep an eye out for any questions coming in. Mm-hmm. So what could you do as your next steps? Well, firstly, just practice. So get online with your buddy or your hubby or your dog. Probably the dog isn't so good. Get online, just do a little practice call. I'd recommend Zoom if you get a choice, but if not, go on the software that your company is asking you to use, and just go and have a safe little practice and do what we're doing now, press a few buttons, and then it would be low risk. If you need more help, then follow us both on LinkedIn. We're going to be doing more of this kind of thing in response to what people need. So please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. And also, if your boss, if you're a bit worried, feel free to speak to your boss and say, listen, I'm a bit nervous about that, because they might have been using it for months and they might be quite think, oh, it's easy, just hopping on a video call or such like. So feel free to say if you're a bit worried about it. And I know some people before the call said, what if I don't like video or don't like being seen? That's okay. As you've seen from today, you can turn your camera off. And I would just say, if people pressuring to have your camera on, then just have a quiet word with them and just say, listen, I'd prefer to have my camera off. And I'm sure everyone would be okay with that. But over time, you might get more confident and be okay with having the camera on. There is a great technique, isn't there? If you said don't do this. If you have a light source behind you, you look all shadowy, isn't that right? But if you're that worried about it, you could purposely have a light source behind you, and then you look like you're in a dark room.
And I've noticed glasses do hide a whole host of sins as well when it comes to makeup and things like that.
So just wear glasses even if you don't. Just borrow someone else's glasses, but you won't be able to see anything.
We've got another question in the chat box. So thank you, Mary. Would be delighted to recommend more participants to join your next webinar. Thank you. That's fabulous. Is
lovely.
there an optimum number of people, maximum number? Not really. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do and what your message is. So some people are using this kind of technology for conferences for hundreds of people. Some people are using it for one-to-ones. So it's really about what you want to get out of it. And if it's one-to-one, you're both likely to have your cameras on. Nobody's going to be muted, and it is a two-way conversation. If it's a big training session or a conference, you probably, as Dee has done today, mute people because of background noise, and you'd be a bit more probably disciplined in terms of how you go through the session. But yeah, in terms of maximum, it's what you want to get out of it, really.
Yeah, on the Zoom free one, it's up to 100. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
And then you can pay all these other ones, you can pay for millions. I was on a virtual conference at the weekend. It was meant to be 3,000 of us in a room, and it became a kind of virtual conference. So they held that by paid Zoom, and there was gazillions of us on there. So these things are becoming more common. If you do join one of these calls and it's within your group or your teams, really do push yourself out there and participate, because it's going to help the communication sink in better. It's going to help the host who might be new and they might be nervous about hosting. So please do participate. Do what they ask you to, put stuff in chat or press buttons or scribble all over the screen as you have done today, which is brilliant. But as a participant, don't be a bystander. Do help everybody, especially in these times. If you've got any particular ideas that you'd like us to cover in future webinars, anything at all, then please let us know. Get in touch on LinkedIn. And hopefully you've all found that really useful. And if you have, then feel free to share this with your colleagues as you see new stuff coming up, or we might do another one of these, or we might share the recording, however that works. So feel free to share this. Any final things in the chat there?
No, I think we're good. Just thanks for everybody for dialing in today. Hopefully that's been helpful and you've taken some tips and tricks away and even just increased your confidence slightly. So that's what we wanted to do today.
Brilliant. Lovely seeing you all, and we look forward to seeing any comments on LinkedIn. Thank you so much to my special guest star, Erica, today. That's been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, guys. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, and don't worry, I'll end the meeting for everyone. You won't have to think that it's still going and we can all hear what you're saying. I'll end the meeting, but you can actually do that yourself. You can sign out yourself, and I will also end the meeting for you, so you don't have to worry about that embarrassing stuff. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.